Look at the gleaming assembly lines rolling out the latest electric vehicles. They represent the high-tech, zero-emission future of the global economy. But that future depends entirely on a much harsher physical reality. This is where the core ingredient for those batteries is actually pulled from the Earth, entirely by hand. This chart shows the global distribution of known cobalt reserves. Notice the massive slice here. 71% of the world's supply sits underneath a single country, the Democratic Republic of Congo. Cobalt is the absolute physical bottleneck for lithium-ion batteries. Without it, the production of smartphones, laptops, and electric vehicles grinds to a halt. The global energy transition runs on cobalt. Whoever controls the red dirt in the DRC controls the pace of that transition. Yet right next to massive zones of heavy industrial wealth extraction, 16 million Congolese live on less than $2 a day. This graph plots the DRC's rank as the #1 global producer of cobalt, directly against its ranking on the United Nations Human Development Index, 180th out of 193 countries. Within these mineral-rich provinces, roughly 150,000 artisanal miners, including children as young as 6, work in unstable, toxic tunnels to dig out this material. Economists call this model the resource curse. When a country's economy is dominated by exporting a single raw commodity, it crowds out other industries, inflates local prices, and incentivizes political elites to fight over resource revenue rather than build functional institutions. The extreme poverty surrounding these mines is the predictable output of a highly efficient system designed strictly for wealth extraction. To understand exactly how the DRC remains poor while powering the world, we have to follow the supply chain. The DRC captures only a tiny baseline value, exporting raw ore. Chinese firms control 70% of industrial mines, shipping raw material directly to China, which commands 78% of global refining. Once processed into refined cobalt metal, its value jumps 3 to 5 times. As battery cathode material, the premium leaps 8 to 10 times. Inside a finished EV battery pack, the total value compounds 20 to 30 times. The massive financial returns are secured on the manufacturing floors far away from Katanga. The DRC provides the essential physical material, but the global supply chain forces it to act as a low-value quarry, while foreign refiners capture all the geometric compounding profits. In early 2025, global cobalt prices plummeted to a devastating 9-year low, dropping below $10 a pound. In response, President Felix Tshisekedi's government executed an unprecedented countermove. They halted all cobalt exports from the DRC. The shockwave of this 8-month ban was immediate. By August, Chinese cobalt imports from the DRC collapsed by more than 90% compared to the prior year. The global market panicked. When exports finally resumed, global cobalt prices had exploded upward by 170% from their January lows. But this leverage revealed a sharp geopolitical reality. Instead of diversifying their supply chains and investing directly in Africa, Washington and Beijing negotiated bilateral deals to secure their own mineral access. The export shock proved the DRC wields immense theoretical power over global markets. However, freezing raw supply does not actually build a domestic refining industry. The value chain remained completely outsourced. To permanently escape this trap, the DRC needs to capture the value chain locally, refining cobalt inside its borders before it crosses an ocean. The playbook starts with raw ore export bans and quotas training Congolese engineers. Next, building domestic refineries captures battery-grade premiums, requiring renegotiation of opaque mining contracts. Finally, the African Continental Free Trade Area provides regional scale for domestic battery manufacturing. This is exactly how today's wealthiest nations historically escaped their own raw resource dependencies, by aggressively protecting and building their domestic processing capacity. The DRC's fight is part of a broader continental shift. Since 2023, at least 13 African nations have enacted similar export restrictions on critical minerals to force local processing. The stakes are immense. The DRC sits on $24 trillion in mineral wealth, yet average annual GDP per capita is just $600. The 21st century economy cannot function without the resources buried underneath the red earth of the DRC. Will international powers permit the DRC to become a manufacturer, or will they force it to remain a quarry? Let us know what you think in the comments.